All right, let's look at two examples of Greek polis. There are hundreds of them again. There are hundreds. Let's take a couple of examples. And the two examples we choose are Sparta and Athens, the two most famous and the two most diametrically opposed, the two most opposite, the two strangest examples. Sparta and Athens. Let's begin with Sparta. The city of Sparta, perhaps you've heard of it before. It should ring a bell. Sparta is most known for militarism. It's the word that comes to mind clearly. It is a city of nothing but military. Government-wise, the word we use is totalitarian. You can see the word totalitarian, a government in which every aspect of your life is totally controlled. Totalitarian government. Where is it? It's on the Peloponnesus. This is a peninsula hanging off the peninsula. If Greece is a peninsula, which it is, if Greece is a peninsula, this peninsula hangs off the bottom of the peninsula, this almost island-looking area hanging off. It's the Peloponnesus, also called the Peloponnesian Peninsula. It is a peninsula, and Sparta is at the southern part of this southern part. It is way down south, but not as far south as it could be. It is actually an inland city. It is not a coastal city. These are inland people. They are going to be land people, not sea people. Looking at Sparta's development. Sparta liked to fight. It is a city of fighting. Like most Greek cities, they like to fight. They fit that trend. The difference is, when they defeat an enemy, they don't just drive them off the field and claim bragging rights. They actually would march into the opposing city, disarm them, claim all the land, and then allow the other city to exist as servants. They will claim the land of the other city and put the other people into a serfdom. This is the best word we can use to describe this. Take all your property, it is now Sparta's, let you work the land as a servant. This is called serfdom. It's slavery without chains. You don't need chains for this. Where are other Greeks going to go? They can't go to another polis. Nobody wants them. That polis hates them. There's an antagonism among all Greeks. So once you're conquered by the Spartans, where can you go? These conquered Greeks are called helots, and they will work for the Spartans. They are disarmed now, allowed to go about their business if they're still alive, but they're called helots. Now you can't move. Again, there's nowhere for you to go, so you'll work your field or work your shop, working your land, working your shop, and you are basically sharecropping. You'll devote part of your harvest to the Spartans. They'll come by to collect. If you're a shoemaker, you owe the shoes, a certain amount of shoes to the Spartans. If you're a shield maker or a metal worker, they'll demand service from you. These are their tributes. The Spartans don't believe in money. They will completely do away with money. It's worthless to them. They don't use money. They just want your labor. They just want to protect Sparta through your labor that you owe to them now. Now there are revolts. This does not go smoothly. It's not that the Spartans conquer you and you just, admit defeat and, that's too bad, we have to work for the Spartans now. They do revolt. Other people revolt against the Spartans. You don't want to be held down. You'll gather your knives or whatever metal you can find and go against them. When this happens, when you revolt against the Spartans, they become really mean. They will crush those revolts. They will have mass murders. They will murder all military-age men. They will do atrocities to other cities. They're extremely cruel. This brings on their cruelty. That they defeated you fair and square in their mind, and that you would dare revolt against them brings on the real cruelty. This also has a backlash on the Spartans in that they're always on guard. You could use the word paranoia here. As they begin to conquer and conquer and conquer around their city, beyond 20, 30 miles, 40 miles, they're now surrounded by angry helots. And this puts the Spartans always on guard, always on watch against possible helot revolts or possible helot collusion. And so their focus now is on their helots. They have to watch these people. Now they're victims of their own success. They're so successful at war that they've conquered these people, and now they have to watch them. So their focus is always on the military. Every Spartan must be armed and vigilant, even the women. So let's look at Sparta. Now you've got a city in the southern Peloponnesus surrounded by conquered people. So Sparta becomes an armed camp. The whole city is at watch. Men always on guard. It is an armed camp of a city. All men serve. Every Spartan serves in the military. You cannot avoid military service. That's what your goal is. To guard the city, every man must take up arms. You must obey absolutely. The slightest error could cause this all to come crashing down. One helot revolt succeeds and we could all die. So everyone must be obedient. And again, that always the fear of the helots, always a fear. What's your life like? Let's look at a typical Spartan man who is going to be raised to be a warrior. You must be a warrior. So your mother has bred you. Your mother is giving birth to children. That is her job. Her husband has been selected for her. They actually do a breeding program. Healthy women, healthy men, and check the family trees and then breed them. Babies are examined. This is one of the most famous stories of Sparta, is the examination of babies. You know, it's horrific that they would dispose of babies if they weren't perfect. In other words, we're only breeding warriors. Anyone else is just going to hold us back. We can't have these mouths, whatever they call, empty people. So they will dispose of them. This isn't completely unusual in the ancient world. The fact that the Spartans do it probably really scientifically kind of scares people. That's called eugenics, to weed out babies that are unacceptable. We call that eugenics. But it's actually not completely uncommon in the ancient world to get rid of babies, either for one reason or another, either incest or rape or something, to set a baby out, to put a baby out in a wooded spot, possibly there's a clearing or something, put a baby in a basket and get rid of them down a river. This does happen in the ancient world, but the Spartans, you know, the story is much more intense for them. What about the boys? As a Spartan boy, you're raised by your mother till about 5, and then you're taken away. You can say bye-bye to mommy. She probably isn't crying about it because she's already bred 2 or 3 more children. She's pretty much sending a boy away every other year or so. So she kisses you goodbye and represent the family. She's probably been toughening you up, getting you ready anyway, because you're taken off to a military camp. They actually use the word herd for this, a herd of boys. You'll be sent to a herd, herd A or herd B, and there at this herd of boys, you will have some schooling, a little bit of schooling. You'll have to learn to read and write, and the reason for this is military. In the military, this is a civilized people, so you'll need to send orders, you'll need to send reports, and so you need to be able to read them and to write them. But the number one thing that happens in these herds is toughness. You can imagine a herd of young boys, just tough and mean, and then going to be made to be even meaner. You can imagine their leaders, their teachers, spending a little bit of time reading and writing, and then most of the time in physical training, probably boxing matches and wrestling matches, and just toughening them up, probably trying to get them to compete against one another to become the toughest they can possibly be. At 13, that would have been a great age. You're now a man at 13, and you are given weapons. You actually have weapons training now, your knives and your spears, and learn how to use them to kill. So now that you're a man, we've toughened you, we've taught you how to kill. Now we need you to actually maybe think about really killing somebody. At this age, you might have actually had some killing exercises. There are stories of them sending the boys off on assassination details to go kill a certain helot. Maybe a helot was getting a little large in a certain city, or making certain statements, so we need this certain helot eliminated. There are assassination stories, or sending a boy off into the woods to be alone and survive at a certain time. So you'll need to be able to have weapons training. Possibly even joining the phalanx. This would have been at 13, maybe the back row, your entrance into the phalanx, probably at the back row. There's 7 men in front of you as you go into battle, so you're probably not going to get into battle, but you get to hear all the commands, you get to hear the fighting, you get to see the blood spraying and the brains bursting, people screaming, people wetting themselves. Just experience. This will be part of that training of fearlessness, learning what a battle is so you can train yourself to be fearless. Part of the training also is at 13, you will be given an older man, or an older man will receive you. A mentor, an older warrior, an experienced warrior. That's going to be a one-on-one training, a 13-year-old boy and an older man. He will teach you about how to perform at the back of the phalanx. You'll learn the mentality, all about that fearlessness and obedience and all the stories and all the legends and what it is to be a true warrior. Absolute obedience, absolutely dedication. If I was using the example of bees to a hive, if most Greeks are bees serving their hive, Spartans are going to be hornets serving their hornet nest. So it's bees, you don't mess with bees in their hives. You certainly don't mess with wasps in their hive. So absolute obedience, overcoming fear to the point of just being a robot as you go into battle, a killing robot. Doesn't mean that they have no feelings. Just as you go into war, you would shift into war mode. At 20, if you reach the age of 20, if you could survive that long, that would be a big year. You are now in full service to the military. You are a warrior without any need of any training anymore. And it's at, if you're wondering how many Spartans there were, the number is right around 8,000 or 9,000. That's it. It is a small city. The numbers are maintained, so the women are told when to breed and when not to breed. And about 8,000 or 9,000. That's as many men as they figure they need. That's as many men as they can support. And actually, that's a pretty common number. Among the Greek cities, 8,000 or 9,000. Maybe 10,000 for some of the bigger cities. That's about as big as a phalanx gets. By the way, they do marry. They will be told to marry. Part of the eugenics program is their wives will be selected for them. This isn't uncommon. You've heard of this in the Middle Ages, princes and princesses being put together. Well, this happens with the Spartans. They will check family trees. There will be a business arrangement, and healthy men and healthy women will be put together to make healthy babies. What's life like for a Spartan now that you're a full-grown man and you have a wife now? Well, nothing unnecessary. The word Spartan. Today we use the word Spartan, and that's pretty much describes what life was like in Sparta. Nothing unnecessary. Just your weapons. Austere. No, nothing unnecessary. Only necessary things in your life. Your home would be just like every other Spartan. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Your home is just there for a roof over your head. Maybe a chair, maybe a fireplace, maybe a pile of straw to sleep on. Your clothes, just like everyone else's. Nothing special, just everyone wearing the same sort of clothes. There's no need to stand out. There's no need to show something special. That would draw people's attention of why are you doing that? You know, we should all be alike. It's best if everyone's the same. No one's different. That way we all function together. Sparta's not known for its art. They might have had some art, but it's certainly not anything really special. And literature, they're not writing great novels. They are writing orders. I'm not saying that no literature existed, but it's certainly not great literature. It's certainly not something that they pride themselves on. In fact, the area around Sparta, this area they've conquered, is called Laconia, which gives us the word laconic. When other people would come visit Sparta, and they would go home and write about the Spartans, they would talk about that these Laconians don't speak much. A Laconian never talks. I asked them questions, and they would give me a one-word response. How's your wife? She's fine. How many kids have you had? 8. What's life like? Tough. What do Spartans do? We fight. Laconic. Use of few words. This is kind of strange because we actually think that they probably talked a lot amongst themselves, but not to foreigners. Xenophobia is prevalent among the Greeks and would have been extreme among the Spartans. They do not like outsiders. An outsider, don't tell them anything. You know, we don't want to give away our state secrets. We're living on a knife's edge surrounded by these helots. So if you live to be 30, there's a little bit of democracy. There is democracy here. If you live to be 30 years old, you would experience some democracy. You actually get to vote. You would enter an assembly of equals. I'll come back to this in a second. There actually is democracy should you live to be 30. Looking at women, the women are extremely fascinating here. Spartan women, what's life for a woman in Sparta? Well, you are raised to give service. The same way a man is raised to give his life for Sparta, you're raised to give your life for Sparta. Through bravery and sacrifice. For a man, this means fighting. For a woman, this means babies. You are going to make children. We need healthy women who can make these babies to reinforce the ranks, to reinforce the losses. Also to protect the city. Should the men be off in combat and the helots rise up, the women must be trained to fight. They must protect the city at last defense. They're very well respected. by other Greeks who stay away from them, and by their men. They will walk around the city freely. Men do not harass them. You wouldn't dare harass another man's wife. So they are extremely respected inside the city because they are performing a function. They're putting their life on the line to have babies, and they are extremely free. The accounts of other people seeing Spartan women is that they are allowed to walk around. They're not veiled like other women. They can walk in the streets. They can do things. They're not harassed. There's even accounts of them performing the jobs that were for men. And this makes sense because if the men are gone, somebody has to do these certain things. For instance, controlling the land, dealing with the helots. Use the word owning land in business. That some books will say that. I've envisioned that as more of controlling land, demanding the helot payment, demanding helot business be done. So they're performing men's functions, which makes sense because the men might not be there. And they're all considered, even the men and the women. This eugenics program can work. It's frightening, but it does work. You can breed really beautiful people, physically fit and extremely beautiful. Everyone talks about this, how good looking all these Spartans were. And they probably all looked alike. This city of inbreeding over hundreds of years, you would tend to get certain